Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I am honoured to be guest designing for the Facebook group For the Love of Pretty Paper. It's a UK scrapbooking group on Facebook, and I was set a challenge. So my challenge was to either include mixed media on my layout or to include gems, crystals, sequins or nuvo drops, or to do both. And as you'll see by the end of this video, I have opted to do both. So I've pulled out lots of different mixed media supplies in various shades of blue, and my idea was to have a large star on my background. So I've cut a huge star shape on my silhouette and drawn around it onto a sheet of cardstock, and now I'm just using the packaging technique to apply my mixed media. So I've started off with a distress ink in tumbled glass, and this spray I'm using here is a Lindy's Starburst spray in Sassy Sapphire, I think that one's called, and it's a lovely shimmery spray, one of my favourites. These two pots to the left here are Cosmic Shimmer Iridescent watercolour paints. I absolutely love these, they are really, really shimmery. They're a bit like shimmerz paints. They are hard set in the pot and you just add water and stir them with a paintbrush to activate all the shimmer. And they really, really are gorgeous. So all I'm doing is adding some splatters onto my background and then just using a piece of plastic packaging just to press down and smush the ink out a bit. This is another distress ink pad, and it's called Blueprint Sketch. It's a lovely shade of sort of royal blue, and again just using the packaging technique. It's really, really simple. I've not used any gesso on my background. Missy Wooden would probably have kittens if she was watching this. Not that I think Missy Wooden would watch my videos, but I know she always uses gesso. I prefer not to use it, believe it or not. I like the effect that you get not using it, kind of a patchy look as opposed to a complete colour washed look. So as you can see there, it is really patchy. There's still areas of white that show through, and that was the look I was going for. I wanted to be able to see each and every different shade of blue, whereas Missy Wooden would use gesso and have all her different shades, and she would mix it in some sort of witchcraft magic-y way that turns out perfect. I'm not as good as doing that as Missy is, so I tend to leave the gesso and go for a more patchy look. And I'm drying it off with my heat gun in between, just so that the colours don't all run into each other and you can still see different shades. So this is a shimmerz paint. It's an original shimmerz, so it comes already sort of watered down, but mine is very old, so I do tend to add a little bit of water. And this one is called, I think it's Ultramarine, this one's called, and again really, really shimmery, so perfect for this layout. So as you can see, there is nothing difficult about what I'm doing here. It's just a case of making organised mess on my page. Anybody can do this. If you've not tried mixed media before, I really do urge you to give it a go. Just find yourself a scrap bit of cardstock and just have a play and have some fun, because that's how you learn. And that's how I learn, by joining Facebook groups and watching YouTube videos. It's amazing what you pick up on the internet. So if it's not something you've tried before and you want to, do give it a go, because it's amazing fun and you can create some beautiful artwork with mixed media. As you can see, I keep bringing my star shape cutout back on top just to make sure that all the area is covered, because my plan is to stick the bit of cardstock that I've cut the star from on top of this one. So at the moment it does look a bit like a mess, but when the other piece of cardstock is on top, you will just see a star of mixed media. This is a distress spray stain, I think this one is. It's silver. I forgot to note the shade down, but it's kind of like a shimmery silver. And again, it's just more sparkle on my page and I love it. I dry that one with a heat gun. I don't ever use a kitchen towel or anything to dry that, because it soaks up all the shimmer and I didn't want that. I wanted the shimmer to show. So I just put my background to one side to let it dry off as best it can naturally. And now I've brought in my other sheet of cardstock with my star, and I'm going around the outside edge with a paper piercing tool and piercing holes to add some stitching. I'm going to use some metallic silver thread by We Are Memory Keepers. It can go through a sewing machine, but they tend to not like my sewing machine for some reason. It always struggles, so if I'm going to do stitching with this, I always opt for hand stitching, which is obviously more time consuming, but I can just sit in front of the TV and watch it in the evening and do some stitching. So I'm just going to go the whole way around the outside edge, just doing like a straight back stitch all the way around. I won't make you watch that, all of it, because it's a bit tedious. There we go, and as if by magic, it's the next day and it's all complete. My background is all dry, there's my stitching, and that is how my layout is going to look. And my two little photos there, they're 3x4 photos of my little boy. And not content with the amount of mixed media I've already got on the background, I'm now coming in with an Echo Park stencil, which is more stars, and a white texture paste. And I'm just using a plastic palette knife just to push the paste through the stencil. And I will just move that around my layout so that the stars are all over my background. And because I'm putting the texture paste on top of my mixed media, it will remain pretty much white, but it does soak up a tiny amount of the colour, or you can see the colour behind it. So it's not going to be pure white, but it's still noticeable in a subtle kind of way. So I'm just going to go around all the areas of mixed media, make sure all parts of my star are covered. And there we go, that is my background now finished. I'm pretty certain that is it done and I don't add any more, but it's been a while since I created this layout now, so who knows. So I'm going to stick this piece of cardstock on top of my background. I'm adding foam pads around the outside of the star to raise that up off of the background to add a bit of dimension and shadowing, and then I will just use double-sided tape around the edge there just to seal that down. And I'm just taking out some foam pads in that bottom corner there because that's where my photos are going to sit, and I will probably raise those up on foam, so I didn't want the dimension of the foam pads behind there. I'm just selecting some patterned papers now to mount my photos on. I think this is a Vicky Boutin paper. And just while I do this, if you're not a member of For the Love of Pretty Paper, if you're a UK scrapbooker, I really recommend it. It's the first Facebook group I joined for scrapbooking when I first started out, and the amount of inspiration and knowledge in that group is phenomenal. So if you're not a member, I really do recommend it. Between that group and YouTube, that's where I've pretty much learned everything I know about scrapbooking. So it is really worth joining. At the beginning of my video, I've included a graphic which is the cover photo for the group, so that will help you find it, hopefully, if you're struggling to identify it. So I've mounted my photos onto white cardstock and then onto a darker navy cardstock, and that's to help them pop off of my busy background there. As beautiful as that mixed media is, I didn't want my photos getting lost in it, so that darker blue just helps give them some separation. And I've also added a layer of white tissue paper for a bit more texture. Now I'm also adding in some, it's called Deco Web Ribbon. It's like a shimmery netted ribbon, and also some sequin waste, or sometimes it's referred to as punchinella. That's white, that sequin waste I'm using there. And this is just to add some more layers behind my photos and some more texture and interest to the page. I'm now also contemplating some blue Deco Web Ribbon. I thought about adding it to the entire background to cover the star, but I thought it would cover up my mixed media too much, so I've just added another layer to the sides of both of my photos, and I'm just using double-sided tape to stick those down. which is easier than said than done. It's quite hard to peel the backing off the tape on this ribbon as it's got holes in it, but I love using this stuff. It's like one of my go-to materials to add a bit more texture to a layout. I've got this beautiful pattern paper there from Echo Park that I was considering mounting the entire lot on, but changed my mind about that. So now I'm just sticking my photos down and trimming off a little bit of the excess there. I've also cut some stars out on my silhouette. I've done some in silver glittered cardstock and some on a like a silver iridescent vellum. I think that was from a shimmer collection. Might have been Glitter Girl, I can't remember, but I've cut out loads of stars and I was just having a play here, just trying to decide where to put them or how many to use. I don't want to embellish the page too much because I wanted my mixed media to be the star of the show, so I didn't want to embellish too heavily. This sticker sheet I've got here is an Echo Park one from the Winter Magic collection, and I've taken off a banner sticker there that says Winter Time, and that is going to act as my title. And then I've got a couple of papers from the same collection. I'm just fussy cutting a couple of elements out, so I've got a snow globe and a snow angel that I used. And although it wasn't snowing when I took these photos, it was a very chilly day. I'd taken my little boy up to a local village to see, they had a 10-foot nutcracker just before Christmas. So we went up to see that, and they had this gorgeous blue nativity scene kind of backdrop against one of the shop walls in the village. I think it was called like a selfie station or something, and they invite you to come and take some photos in front of it, and it was gorgeous. But it was quite a chilly day, so although it wasn't snowing, I'm happy to use a snow angel and a snow globe on my layout. They fit in really well with the wintry theme, so yeah, I'm not afraid to use them. So I just fussy cut a few of those out. At the moment there's a few more sat on my layout there than I do end up using. I'm just kind of having a play, putting things in different places and just seeing where I want things to sit. So this tag I've just cut out is actually from the Simple Stories Jingle All The Way collection, and I've selected this one because the top of it is a pale blue colour and I wanted to bring some pale blue in, and I've just drawn around the top section of it onto another patterned paper, that's the Echo Park one, just to create another tag. Just distressing the edges of both of those with my scissors, and they will sit underneath the top of my photos there and pop out. This is just a white twine that's got silver flecks running through it, so I'm just looping that through the lighter blue tag. And then this is a box of embroidery threads, and I just select a dark navy navy embroidery thread just to loop through my other tag. Again, that's another texture on the page. This is a Uniball white gel pen. It's my favourite gel pen, or white gel pen anyway. I got that from Paper Maze, and it's the only one I found that really shows up on darker backgrounds. Just adding some foam behind my photos. I do like a lot of dimension on my layouts, so I always use foam behind my photos. And then I've got this pack of chipboard frames. Now I wanted to get them in, but I was trying to decide how to use them. In the end I just chopped the tops off and slot them behind the top of my photos along with the tags. I'll use the bit I've cut off on another layout at a later date, but then realised I needed to trim this bit of foam down because that tag adds enough dimension behind that photo. So the layout's starting to take a bit more shape now, and I'll start working on getting things stuck down. So it's my tags and frames going in place there up the top. And I'm just using a tacky PVA glue to stick those down. There's another bit of frame. That bit of frame in the bottom right there is the bit I cut off of the big one on the left. And then I've got a darker blue one here that says picture perfect. I thought that was quite fitting, so that's going down the bottom of my layout. And I'm just sticking to a kind of blue and silver sort of monochrome look about the layout. I've got a white doily here that I thought I'd add in. It kind of reminds me a bit like snow, so that's gone in. I've cut it in half and placed half at the side and half at the top. So the main bulk of my layout is now stuck in place. Sorry if you're hearing lots of noise in the background. One of my neighbours has just decided to start letting off some fireworks. So if you're hearing any loud bangs and whizzes, that's what that is. So I'm just bringing in those stars now that I cut on my silhouette. I don't use all of the ones I cut. I've just placed a couple of the glitter ones on and a couple of those vellum ones. They are really pretty and shimmery, again a bit more shiny on my layout. And I'm using foam pads to add the fussy cup, snow angel and snow globe, because they're sitting half on my photos, so they're already sort of up from the page. And just a couple more stars at the top and bottom there. That was me just checking that everything's stuck down and not going to fall off. Hope everybody does that and it's not just me. This is a pack of acrylic perspectives. These are by Bramble Fox, and I'm picking out a couple of the stars that match. So I've got a glitter one that goes on at the top left of my photo, that's silver glitter, and I've got a couple of blue ones as well. So I've got an open blue one and a solid blue one, and I use glossy accents to stick down my Bramble Fox perspectives just to make sure they hold in place. I'm going through my box of flares just below the camera here. These are all by our lovely Natalie at Dotty About Flair. I was trying to find one that matched the colour in the background of my photos, and I'm going to stick a blue and silver sparkly snowflake sticker on top of it. So it's not going to cover the flare completely, you can still see the blue background, but it just gives it a bit of bling. And that's just going to be placed at the side there. I'm coming back in with my silver metallic thread just to add a couple of thread tangles to my layout. So I always tend to do a thread tangle behind my flares. So I've added one to the left there where my flare is going to sit, and I've added a little bit of craft foam behind my flare just to pop it up. And there's my glittery perspective there that I've just stuck to the top left of my photo. And having a bit of a tidy up, because I do tend to make a lot of mess when I create my layouts, and I can't stand a messy desk, so I do tend to pause every now and then to have a bit of a tidy up. So now just a few finishing touches. I've got my mixed media on. The other challenge criteria was gems, crystals, sequins or nuvo drops. So these are some gems and crystals I'm adding in here in various shades of blue and different sizes. I've got some larger and some smaller, and I'm just looking at what else I can add. I took a break there and I've come back with the idea of adding a border of nuvo drops all around the edge of my star with the stitching. So this is a Nuvo glitter drops, and it's called Blue Lagoon. It's one of my favourites, and this is a technique I learnt from Rachel Millington. If you've ever seen her layouts, she is amazing with her Nuvo drops, and she really inspires me with them, so I do use them an awful lot now. I've let that dry because we all know how dangerous it is still creating when your Nuvo drops are wet, and yet again took a break, come back and decided I wanted a border on my page. I didn't want to trim it down and add a coloured border because a lot of my embellishments come right out to the end of the page. So I went round with a star punch and punched holes all around the outside edge and backed it with a dark navy cardstock. That just frames my layout nicely. And then finally I've got some little sparkly polystyrene balls here that look like snowballs, and I've just added the few clusters of those around my photos. And I think finally, yep, that's me done. So thank you very much for joining me. Please do head over to For the Love of Pretty Paper on Facebook. I think I actually forgot to mention the reason I was asked to guest design and the reason there are challenges is because they are celebrating the Facebook group's birthday. So happy birthday to For the Love of Pretty Paper, and like I said, pop over and take part in all of the challenges. They're usually really good challenges and you'll have some great fun. So I'll leave you with the close-ups, and I'll see you next time.